Welcome, everyone, to the Full Dive Gaming Podcast, bringing a weekly dive of all the news, discussion, and condensed nerd talk you need for virtual reality gaming every Friday. I'm Rip McAfee, producer and host of this podcast.
I'm J-Rat. I'm a VR YouTuber and streamer.
I'm Destiny Wheeler, entrepreneur and VR enthusiast.
I'm Adam Charlton, a software developer who is really regretting having to change his tagline every single podcast. It's so difficult coming up with new things every week.
Oh, yeah. That's why we gave you the challenge.
Yeah.
Keeps you on your toes.
There you go.
So, we're super excited to tell you that this is our 6th month anniversary podcast. That's right. We have been doing this for half a year now.
Yay.
It's been a while. We've had all sorts of adventures, ups and downs, and it's been good and been a lot of fun. We look forward to another 6 months. So, speaking of, if you've been listening to our podcast for these past 6 months, but you're still a holdout, you're like, they keep saying they're on YouTube, but I'm too lazy to go check it out. Well, perhaps in the spirit of this anniversary, consider checking out the YouTube channel. It's got some cool stuff. It's got us. We're all live and stuff. We have a live stream going right now, and we're like interacting, and it's cool, and everyone says they like it. So take their word for it. Go ahead and check out the YouTube channel.
New locations every week.
And new locations every week. It keeps things interesting.
Yeah, today we're just chilling in someone's apartment,
Yeah. They weren't home, and we figured it was a pleasant enough place.
It's definitely much smaller than last week.
Yeah. So, as usual, we will be running this podcast in 4 sections. First, a Q&A section from our Discord and Patreon community. Second, a VR gaming news section. And third, we'll be talking about the games we've been playing this week. And fourth, we have a discussion that changes week to week, just like the rooms. This week, we'll be talking about, the anniversary, but in greater detail. Last week, though, we covered, are we going to end up in peripheral hell? There's a lot of weird peripherals for VR right now. If you want to hear us talking about that subject, consider checking out last week's podcast. Last week's podcast.
You're so close.
I know. One day. I like the first 10 podcasts I had it, and it's just devolved. It for a while it got worse, and now I'm trying to climb my way back up. So with that, we are going to hop into the Q&A. And Jay's got the first one.
I sure do. So we have a question from Bearfire567. He says, what do you think about Quest 2 Pavlov or Quest 2 Beat Saber? Now, I've got the Quest 2.
Those are very different games.
I know. I haven't played Pavlov on it, so I can't really speak to that. But Quest 2 Beat Saber is pretty cool because the screen is so clear. But the thing about Beat Saber on the original Quest, it lagged sometimes. It lagged bad. You could just feel it wasn't running smoothly when you were on Expert Plus and it was struggling. On the Quest 2, it runs just butter smooth. The resolution looks really nice and the notes are coming at you. It's definitely a better experience in every way except for me personally. I have a smaller field of view because my eyes are so wide that I have to use their widest setting, and it cuts off the field of view because of that. But everything else about Quest 2 Beat Saber is better than Quest 1 Beat Saber.
Okay, but here's the real question. So the best thing about the Quest 2 is the wireless and everything, but would you still prefer a PC or your PSVR headset instead of the Quest 2 for Beat Saber?
The only reason I use my PC so much for Beat Saber is because I do it online multiplayer while I'm streaming. It's just so hard
for the streaming. But without that, if you just had to do it straight for fun, would you choose the Quest 2 or something?
I definitely choose Quest 2 because that's actually what I do when I'm playing it just by myself for exercise in the garage with Nat, whatever. I play on my Quest. I only play on the PC if I'm going to stream it. So yeah, it's definitely it's a good enough experience that it compares just fine to my Rift S. If I had an Index, I might feel differently, but compared to the Rift S, it's just as good to play Beat Saber alone with it.
Remind me, do you have the Elite strap yet, or is it just stock?
I reviewed one. I am using a deluxe audio strap on my Quest 2, though.
Gotcha.
Yeah, much better.
Gotcha. Good question. Destiny, you have next question.
So from Natty Bratty, she asked, who is your favorite Jonas brother? And I'm going to be brutally honest. Maybe Rip has more insight on this one. I don't know anything about them. I know you're a huge fan.
But
Rip,
you've been to
so
all
why
of the
don't you
concerts,
answer?
all of you.
I don't know anything about the Jonas.
Everybody's trying to save face here. Just pretend they don't know their names. Okay, you
I'm
know their
so-
names. I'm the
it's-
only one
it's-
who definitely doesn't know their names, but
He
I'm sure
knows.
you guys do.
I question that, Jay. Is the one who keeps like bringing that.
Is Harry Styles a Jonas brother? Is he one of the Jonas? Is it Harry
I
Styles?
don't even know.
Jonas.
I thought they all had the same last name.
It's
Nick's
Is
Joe
it
is
one
one of
them.
person? Is
I
it a
think
group
Nick's
of
one of them.
people?
Nick Jonas
I
is one
don't
of them.
know.
He's
Joe
the only one I
Jonas,
know. So
Joey
Nick
Jonas,
Jonas is my
Johnson
favorite.
Jonas.
Johnson Jonas.
Johnson
don't know.
Jonas. No, it's Johnson Johnson. You're thinking of the shampoo company.
Okay. Yeah, that's
Johnson
that's
Johnson,
what I'm
a family
thinking of.
company.
So to answer your question, who's your favorite Jonas brother? I guess none of them because we don't know any of them.
Well, you said
Maybe
you
Rip will
said
tell us in
Nick.
the after
They're
Nick
all
hours.
our
Jonas, I think I
favorite
know for sure
equally.
is one of them.
Oh man, we are terrible fans of the Jonas Brothers. Apparently, Rip,
Yeah, our
let's-
chat is helpfully saying Joe, Nick, and the other one. So,
so they don't even
Ah,
the
know.
other
there we
one is
go.
my favorite.
Harry Styles
The
Jonas.
other
See,
one.
I knew it. Rip, let's just move on. Let's get out of this. What's another question?
Who asked this one? We don't have a.
That's also Natty Bratty. It's just, there
Oh,
wasn't
gotcha.
a space there, but somebody added a space and messed everything
Oh,
up.
I did because it was messing me up. Like I was gonna end up reading both questions,
I see.
so I messed him up.
All right. So Natty Bratty also asks us, for all the PSVR haters, and by that she means me, what would PlayStation have to do to make you consider getting a PSVR 2? Make a modern VR headset. It's
What
not hard.
define modern? How,
Okay, all
what
right,
does it
that's
have to
fair.
have?
That's fair. Okay, they've got one of the things that is already really good, and that's comfort. Like, they're still to this day, I think, have the most comfortable VR headset. That said, the screen technology is old. The controllers are truly horrible, and
Yeah, this is PSVR 2 though that we're talking about, right?
right, exactly. So, well, that's the thing. Is like they announced the PS5, and we still haven't heard a darn peep out of them about a PSVR 2. For all we know, there isn't one. I mean, we know there is one,
But wait
like,
for our news section. Stay tuned.
That's true. That's true. But like, they've got to have good stuff. Like, it has to make me want. I mean, especially because I'm a PC player, they have to pull me away from PC VR, which is a high darn bar.
Yeah.
But if they did stuff like really good wireless, PC VR really struggles with that. If they did stuff like really consistent gameplay, that's something consoles have always been able to achieve, whereas PCs, like you don't have to constantly troubleshoot some piece of hardware on your PS5, right? Or hopefully that won't be the case. There are plenty of benefits to consoles. I've always made sure to own the current console generation, even though I've been a PC player. I like consoles. I like to play my games on couches sometimes. I get it. But they're competing against my currently Oculus Rift S, and that's a pretty good headset. So be better than that. That's what they have to that's what they have to do.
I think you're hitting the question there. So like if it came out and it was just as good as an Index, would you get it, or does it have to be better? Does it need to be more than what we have out there now?
That's a good I mean, okay.
Yeah, that's
Does it
really
have to-
going to depend on who you're asking too.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt here, but for someone like me, I don't have a PlayStation, and so in
Same.
order to pull me away from PC VR to go get a PlayStation and then a VR on top of that, it better be out of this
Yeah.
world incredible. However, for
Exactly.
people that already have a PlayStation, if they can get on par with some of the better headsets out there, that's going to be more than enough for most people to hop into it.
Right.
And so it really depends on who you're asking. And so for a PSVR hater, someone that doesn't have a PlayStation already, the bar is just going to be nigh unattainable for people that already have a computer. But I don't know. It's a hard question.
Mhm. Yeah. And that's part of it is I am a PC VR player. I don't know if they could ever bring me to a console VR player. And that's why like the Quest 2 tries to do that, because it's got like the standalone wireless options, which is pretty cool, and that's its selling point. The PlayStation VR, I argue, doesn't really have that, right? So, really the question shouldn't even really be, is it going to sway us? It's more of a just generally for people that don't like it. It's going after the people that can't afford like 2,000 plus to drop on PC VR, right? It's going for the people that are going, do I want PlayStation VR or Quest 2, or Oculus Quest 2? And so really what they need to compete with is that. They need to compete with Oculus Quest 2. And frankly, they still aren't doing that either.
Well, no
so
one is,
we will
sadly. We need
Yeah, no one is.
Someone do it, please.
Except for this new headset coming out.
Yeah, maybe.
All right. Adam, take us away with the last one.
So our last question comes from Maka Makazi, who asks, so I guess drift on the index is a big problem. Should I remap it? And so for those of you who aren't aware of this problem, there is the potential for some drift on the index analog sticks. So due to the design process, after a little bit of time, there's some chance that the index analog sticks might drift. So like if you're playing a game like Pavlov, you might start to slowly start walking backwards or something like that. And I've actually started experiencing a little bit of this problem within the last month or two. However, I found, so it's not a deal breaker. Definitely the index controllers, even with a little bit of drift, is infinitely better than the Vive controllers I had before. Adding in a little bit of dead zone to the controller completely solved the problem for me. And I know that doesn't work for everyone, but it did for me. And so I would say that it's not a big deal. If you get a little bit of drift, you just kind of wiggle around your analog stick. I can't do that right now because I'm going to be walking all over the room. But you wiggle around the analog stick a little bit, it recenters it, and the drift goes away. So is it a big problem? No. Should you remap it? Increase the dead zone, and it should fix everything. So that's the answer.
Nice.
So Max Panda, who's one of our awesome patrons who hangs out here with us, he has said that his drift has gotten so bad that he has to have the dead zone like huge. Does it just keep getting worse on most controllers, or do you get a little and it stops, or does it just get worse and worse over time?
So I've had to look up this issue, and for some people it gets worse, and some people never get it at all. However, from what I've been reading, Valve has been pretty understanding and considerate about helping with the problem, even shipping you a new controller if you complain enough about it.
Okay.
And so there is a solution. You're not just dead in the water if you get index drift.
Okay. So there's the lesson. Make a Karen style scene with Valve and they will fix it for you.
Unfortunately, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right?
Well, I think we're ready to talk about some news, Rip. Is there something you want to tell us
Yes, we
first?
are. There is a small thing, just a small thing. I gotta let you guys know. So there's these people, and they showed us this thing, and it's a VR headset stand, and it's amazing. You guys should get it. It is the Asterian's Aura VR headset stand. It has RGB lighting. It looks cool, and you can have it, and you can have it for a discount because we have one just for you, exclusively from us. And that is using the code FULLDIVE. That's full dive. Plug that in at www.asterianproducts.com, and you can get $5 off any order, $19.99 or more. Again, that's code full dive, and it's pretty sweet, and you all should do it because we like have like extras of these stands, way more than they just gave us. They're really good stands, guys.
I have
go pick one out.
I can't make 4 with my fingers. I have 4 now. So between all of us, what do we have? Like 8 of these stands? 9 of these stands now?
We have the entire rainbow.
We actually, if we all got together, we could have every color sitting one by one of the whole scheme of all the stands.
Just
That'd be
another
funny.
reason for us to meet IRL.
There you go. Make sure you bring the stand.
I'll take a nice picture of all the stands.
Yeah.
You know
That's
what?
the whole reason.
That should happen.
Yeah,
That should happen.
stand meeting.
Well,
All right.
Let's talk about some depressing news.
Uh-oh.
PSVR 2, as it's nicknamed more by the fans, never by the company, may not be releasing until 2022, or it might release as something different, or not at all. So Jim Ryan, the president and CEO of Sony, talked about this, and he said, quote, "I think we're more than a few minutes from the future of VR. PlayStation believes in VR, Sony believes in VR, and we definitely believe at some point in the future VR will represent a meaningful component of the interactive entertainment Will it be this year? No. Will it be next year? No. But it will come at some stage. We believe that, and we're very pleased with all the experience we've gained with PlayStation VR, and we look forward to seeing where that takes us in the future, end quote. So this has led to not only crazy speculation, channels, PSVR only channels just losing their minds. Like this is hit us all right where it hurts who love the PSVR. But the really weird part where the story takes an interesting turn. So like I just ordered my adapter to be able to make my PSVR work on the PS5. If you're trying to play a new PSVR release on the PS5, you actually will not be playing the PS5 game. When you get the PS5 game, they're going to give you a backwards compatible PSVR or PS4 game, and that's what you're going to be playing, is that backwards compatible game. So this is even going as far as saying that you may not be getting anything extra out of the more powerful hardware of the PS5. You may just be playing PS4 specific games on your PSVR. So basically, PSVR is PS4, and if there's a PSVR 2, it may be PS5, but there may not actually be any crossing of these two. So
this is like the worst possible news for PSVR right now.
This is
brutal.
This is a punch in the gut. There is some speculating that the problem was, though, there's all these patents and everything that showed they were working on something. It might just be that Quest 2 has literally destroyed their margin to even try. And so now Jim Ryan might be saying there is a future, but they're going to wait till they have something innovative enough to actually compete in the market. Because just like we touched on earlier, if they launch a PSVR 2 right now, and even it's pretty good, they're going to have to compete against the Quest 2. So like, even if it comes out with better resolution, better controllers, better tracking, like all of that may not be enough to get people away from the Quest 2 that's totally wireless. So,
but you see, I don't know. It feels like they're not in the same market as the Quest 2, though. It feels like they're competing against the PC VR market, but for people that already have a PlayStation. I feel like that there could be a market there, and it's unfortunate. I know that Rip and I have kind of been the PlayStation haters, but it's really sad to see this go. It's sad to see a company kind of ducking out of the VR race. And, it's removing an entire segment of the market that has seen some really incredible exclusive in games. So this is really disheartening news.
Yeah, it's been painful and it's led to tons of speculation, but there's nothing solid out there yet. So we'll keep you all posted as more comes out, but it does kind of lead to like the fact that maybe the Quest is going to kill some of the VR industry because people can't compete. And even we talked about this a few weeks ago, Congress was like looking at this, like, should we stop what they're doing to VR? Because they're trying to create a monopoly, and monopolies technically aren't allowed. So they're even like investigating this. Yeah, technically. They're investigating this. Like, should this be considered? Well, maybe this is what's causing Sony to rethink their strategy right now. So, yeah, it hurts our feelings. Hopefully, we'll get some better news in PSVR, and we'll keep you updated as soon as we get any news.
I hope they bring something back. I don't want Sony to back out of that. They're so. I mean, like, even. Oh, my hands aren't working. There we go. Even like, okay, they never had a huge mark in the industry compared to what Facebook's been doing, but they've still been the biggest players besides Oculus. Like, losing them is going to be big for VR. That's a lot of money that's not going into the VR industry.
It's true. I know a lot of PlayStation VR players that are purely in it because, like you said, they already have the console. And without that, I don't even think they would be willing to pick up a Quest. Like, they're not that avid to VR. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
So yeah, that is pretty rough.
All right. Well, while Sony may be backing out, there is some good news that comes along with this. And I totally forgot about it, and I last minute added it to the script. And I was looking at that. So I totally forgot about this news piece, but I'm gonna make sure it's here. So this was like, I think, released pretty much just after we recorded the previous podcast, so it didn't make it in, and I forgot to make sure it gets it into this week's. Anyway, so Xbox has a bit of a leak. So Microsoft Flight Sim, as you know, that's getting some VR support. We've talked about that. However, when they've gotten a lot of these updates related to that, we have seen a couple lines of code that suggest some very curious things. And I'm going to verbatim this here. This is from Screen Rant by Connor. I don't know how to Connor Trinsky. And apparently, so over on the Microsoft Flight Simulator forums, users significant I don't know, has posted their discovery of a few interesting lines from within the game's code. The string references both PSVR and Scarlet VR, along with file names for various editions of the game on both systems. Although this implies that the upcoming Xbox Series X will have some sort of VR capability. Signific says there's no way to know if the snippet of code is referring to an actual retail release or if it's for internal builds only. So that doesn't confirm anything, obviously. It's just some lines of code. It's not Microsoft being like, hey guys, we're making a VR headset. But I mean, who knows? Maybe they're just like preemptively getting some lines of code in there. Like, this is where the VR stuff will go if Microsoft does it. But I don't think that's the case. This is some very, Scarlet VR is very, there was Project Scarlet for the longest time. I think that was supposed to be the new Xbox. Mm-hmm. And who knows, maybe that rumor was only half true. Maybe Project Scarlet includes VR and they've been keeping that under wraps. Very, very curious. So hopefully as Sony starts to show signs of backing out, we might see some signs of Xbox coming into this industry, which would be super cool. And perhaps even if Sony does start backing out, if Xbox says that they're going to include a VR headset, in my mind, they're already releasing, like, the Xbox Series X console looks just amazing from a consumer standpoint for so many reasons that I've been over before. If they include VR along with this, man, Sony has so much catch up to do. So I'm excited about this.
Now, I for some reason in my head I swore that we talked about this, but I guess I posted something on Instagram, and I guess that was after this. But in my head I was so certain that we had talked about this, I didn't put it on here.
I just checked the last script. I was like, did we not talk about it? And we didn't.
That's so yeah. I know there's been some speculation around, like, this might be why. Maybe this is why Microsoft partnered on the Reverb G2. Maybe they're going to just make the G2 also work on the Xbox, which, it's totally powerful enough. It's totally powerful enough to do it, and there wouldn't be any reason not to. But that's the one thing that kind of sucked. In my mind, I was kind of hoping, like, if they make some Xbox-specific VR headset that has something cool or different about it, I'm going to have to buy a freaking Xbox. But if it's just a G2, then that's not really going to pull me into buying a console, because I could just get one for the PC if I wanted to. But I'm kind of hoping it's not just the G2. I'm hoping there's some new headset coming that's got something different about it. I don't know what it would be. I would love an excuse to actually get an Xbox game, because I haven't owned one since the 360, and I don't plan to unless VR comes to it and it's something different. So I don't know. This got me a little hopeful.
This is just so silly, because this is the exact same situation we were talking about with PlayStation. If they incorporate the G2 into the Xbox, it's not going to be enough to get the PC VR players to switch over and get an Xbox. That's not what they're going for. It's for people that already have an Xbox. But if you're deciding between, should I get an PlayStation or should I get an Xbox, like most people do when a new console comes out, well, if you're into VR, you're going to be swinging towards the Xbox, and having that G2 capability, which is going to be one of the more impressive headsets on the market, is going to be a really big draw. And with G2 being basically with the G2 being inside out tracking, it's going to be fantastic, because you don't need, like, the PlayStation camera. You don't need external sensors. You just plug it in and it works. That's going to be a big deal.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, this is all speculation, of course. We don't know anything. And I think that, we really know that snippets of code in there don't really mean anything definitively. I'm a developer. I leave snippets of code in there that I've forgotten about way long ago. This could just be like an experimental project. It's like, maybe theoretically, let's play around with bringing VR to Xbox. And then they ditched it like a year and a half ago and haven't thought about it. This is pure speculation. But if it is true, that would be awesome. And it would mean that, a new player has entered into the VR scene.
Another one.
Another one, yeah. My biggest worry with this is Microsoft has a history with VR of doing too little, too late, and not believing in it. And so now, if the Quest 2 is out there and it's dominating all the sales, I worry that Xbox, even if they did do this, they launch the G2 and they're all excited, and no one buys hardly any of them for the Xbox, and they find out there's no market share on the Xbox. That's just going to be one more nail in the coffin of VR from Microsoft's perspective, because they're going to be like, oh, look, we tried again, and it didn't work again. So I hope that's not the case. I hope if this happens, I kind of hope it's something better or newer or just different than the G2. I hope it's something kind of Xbox specific that gives people a reason to also go for it, rather, because if you already own a PC, then like what's the point of hooking it up there? So I hope I don't know.
If it did come to Xbox, what exclusively would you like to see? Maybe like a Halo VR? Could you imagine?
I would play some Halo VR.
Oh my
as long as there's
gosh.
co-op. I haven't played Halo in a long time. I only ever played it with friends. So if there was Halo VR, oh yeah, I would play the crap out of that as long as it had a mode to play with your friends.
Halo VR. I
Right?
can only get so
I
erect.
know. I was thinking about that. I was looking at our chat. It's like Xbox exclusive, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Halo VR would be the coolest thing in the entire world.
Exclusive. I was one of the previous things I was talking about things I want most as like VR, get regular games to come to VR, and my top pick was Sea of Thieves, which is an Xbox.
Oh, I didn't know it was an Xbox.
I mean,
is
it's
Xbox,
on
yeah.
these days Xbox exclusive more
also
means
PC.
Windows and Xbox exclusive.
Which is
so
a
it's-
good thing for the industry.
right. Again, Xbox is doing so many good pro consumer things right now. It's crazy. So man, okay, if they came out with more VR support for the Xbox games because of the Xbox getting VR, that would mean that so many of those games would also be on Windows and probably also have VR support there, which is
Yeah.
so great because Sony right now, whenever there's a VR game that gets their exclusivity, it means no one else gets to play it. So again, I can only get so erect.
But again, this is all speculation, and I think that only time will tell.
Yes.
Yes.
Speaking of the
All right.
G2, Destiny, you have some news too.
Mhm.
Hold on. I totally didn't scroll down enough. Okay. The HP
love when I do
Reverb
that.
G2 is finally releasing this month alongside Microsoft Flight Simulators VR support. But developers have confirmed it's November this month, but no exact date. So we have to assume it's going to be towards the end of this month.
Finally, right?
Finally.
Yeah, they've only been talking about it for like 6 months now, you know.
Well, and like no one, all these people who pre-ordered this haven't heard. Like, when the heck are they getting this thing? So at least finally we have a month now,
Right.
and it's
right.
this month. It's this month. Did
I'm
no one here
expecting
ended
that
up-
they're going to get this out Black Friday. You know, that's like the biggest consumer day of the entire year. If they don't get it out by Black Friday, they're going to be seriously missing out.
Oh yeah.
So
Ooh, you know
that's
what?
got to be their target date.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that. That's probably what they're kind of like aiming towards Black Friday.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Again, this is
This-
pure speculation as well. Don't go quoting us. Don't go quoting us on this unless
But
we're
it
right.
would be really interesting to see the sales with the Reverb versus the Quest on Black Friday. Quest 2.
I am
Yeah,
so
if any
tempted.
one ever releases that, 'cause they never tell us anything. PSVR was like the only one that actually told us units sold and stuff. Everyone else just kept it to themselves, like a bunch of jerks.
Bunch
Mhm.
of jerks.
Yeah, fortunately, we have Steam analytics to back up any suspicions
Kind of
we have.
help us.
And that does
Kind of
help.
helps.
It does
help.
help.
Yeah.
Isn't Black
Speaking-
Friday, what day is Black Friday? Do we know? Because I feel like it's always pretty close to the end of the month. So it's a pretty good date to be like, okay, it'll probably be out by then because the month will almost be over, right?
Yeah,
Friday.
Yeah, I don't
Let
have
me go
it.
ahead and type in my
Okay.
calendar. I know it's on a Friday, right?
No, it's
I don't.
like-
I think Black Friday is on a Tuesday this year, Adam.
Yes, yeah.
They're
they always
changing the
change
name to
it.
Black Tuesday.
It was only on Fridays years ago. Ever since then, it'll be like Sunday through the rest of the week, but not on Friday.
So it looks like Black Friday is on the 27th.
So yeah, that's a pretty. It should be out by then. I doubt they're going to launch this thing on the 30th. So
Oh,
it's a pretty
yeah,
good
for-
date to say. It should
Well, what
at
if
least
it's-
be out.
At
What
least
if it's
like
releasing on
last
Cyber Monday?
Nope,
week.
not
Cyber
happening.
Monday, there you go.
Because Cyber
I'm guessing
Monday
it's
was on
going
the
to come
30th.
out. I'm guessing if I had to
Maybe.
just purely just pull a date out of my butt, it's going to come out the Monday of Thanksgiving week. and that'll give it
See
enough
that.
time to build up a little bit of hype. At least it'll announce it, get all the sales, and it'll be fully ready for sale on Black Friday. That's if I
Okay.
had to guess, that's where I'm guessing.
Adam has set the line the Monday before Thanksgiving. Riff, do you want over or under?
Yeah, are we going to get like a pool going here, you know?
Before or after? Which one?
Before what day is Thanksgiving again? I'm blanking.
That would be the 26th. So the Monday would be what, the 22nd or something?
Okay, so 26th, day after is Black Friday, and then it's not like a large margin here. I don't know. I think I'm gonna go with them releasing on Black Friday if they're
So
gonna
you're
stick
going
to a November
after.
date.
That's what I was gonna say.
So you're going after. Well, Destiny, it's too bad. He chose after, so you're stuck with before. And as the
Dang.
party that I'll come up with a punishment for the losers since I'm not a part of this. Okay, let's move on.
That sounds fair.
Fair enough.
Jay, what do you got for us?
So let's talk about the Quest 2 and the Elite Strap that we already kind of talked about. A couple weeks ago, we discussed that many users were experiencing problems with them breaking. They were snapping in half. The Elite Strap was breaking on the side of it, like cracking from the bottom. And it appears that Facebook is actually agreeing with what's happening. They've acknowledged it, and they've actually canceled
Wow.
all orders of the strap, citing quality issues with the straps. So that means everyone out there who tried to victim blame on this and say this was the owner's fault, guess what? You were wrong. If you had a strap ordered, it's going to be canceled and fully refunded unless you opt in to keep your order scheduled. So Facebook has confirmed some issues exist, but noted that it seems to be affecting only a small number of users. And if you've ordered an Elite Strap, you have until December 8th to respond and say you still want to get your head strap. I'm impressed. I'm impressed that they took it this seriously.
Especially from
good for them.
Facebook. This
Yeah, I
is
didn't see that coming.
when's the last time we had a good piece of news from Facebook? Short of like maybe Quest 2 stuff.
Right? But
It's
I
been a
do like
while.
how they added on there that, oh, we're gonna like confess to it, but it's only affecting a small amount.
Mhm.
Well, I'm sure it is
Yeah,
affecting
it's
only
a
a small
amount of users, so we're going to cancel all orders.
Well, I mean,
Right.
if they
No, totally get that.
yeah, they what they're more worried about are lawsuits, not the actual like number of because I'm sure it is a small percentage just based off sheer statistics. I'm gonna guess most of these probably are perfectly fine, but enough of them will break that they will save money in the long run by just stopping all the orders, making sure that they're all working, and then they don't have to hire people to deal with these things. They don't have to deal with all the reshipping and like recalling of all these headsets.
Yeah.
I see it making financial sense for them to bite the bullet of going just, okay, we're pausing them. These people will probably still pay for it anyway. They're just gonna have to wait a little bit and make sure that when they're releasing it, they're doing it with a more friendly face, and it looks good for them. And maybe this is partly because they've gotten so much flack lately for their choice of forcing Facebook accounts. Maybe this is the PR team talking to the talking to the rest of the people at Facebook, going, y'all are messing up everywhere and we need to fix this.
So there's good and bad to this, though, because obviously this is a good thing that they're stopping it. They're making sure that their quality is good so that they don't have to worry about people having their Elite Strap that they paid $50 for breaking. However, the Elite Strap was there for a reason, and that's because the default Quest 2 head strap is terrible. And so this is almost a necessity for people that really love playing VR. And so this is going to be a huge blow for people that really needed this Pro strap to to get a nice comfortable headset, and they're not going to get it for a couple extra months now because they have to do some QA that maybe they should have done ahead of time,
Yeah.
And this is the time for other companies to jump in. VR Panda, who's making a good-looking Halo strap that can even have headphones included on it.
Wow.
Nice.
There's some Halo ones already on AliExpress and others, and they're only $30. So like a lot of people were like, oh crap, return this thing, get these other straps. And so Facebook, they're saving some face. They're probably, like you said, they're trying to fix the fact that they already effed up bad on all this. The launch has had its fair share of issues for sure. So
Right.
I appreciate that they're trying to make up for that, trying to fix it. The crazy thing about this, though, it sounds like this could be a batch issue, because what some people have said is the ones that are snapping, they've noticed they also feel really rough. And in pictures, the plastic looks worse than other ones. So they're
Oh.
thinking maybe this was like one rushed batch of them trying to get out that got shipped all over the world, and all those ones are snapping. And that would also explain why so many people who own these straps are so quick to blame the owners, saying, well, my strap feels super strong and I couldn't break it if I tried. Well, maybe this was just one batch of them was really bad and
Yeah.
broke instantly. So
Ran out of
hopefully they can,
mold.
yeah, hopefully they can track that down and figure out where those went, and maybe they can fix all this easily.
Right.
I'm hoping.
Yeah. TLDR, Facebook finally did it good.
Finally did it good.
Shocker.
Pat on the back.
Yeah, pat on the back. All right, with that, I'm going to move us on into the game section, guys. But first, I want to tell you a little bit about our sponsor. That's Asterion. That's right. You know them. We've been talking about them for a while. But if you're new to this podcast, let me brief you real quick. These guys make VR headset stands, among other things, but that's our favorite. And they look really sweet. We own so many, way more than the ones they gave us. And that's because they have sweet RGB lighting. They look cool. They look good on literally anything you put them on. I mean, except for maybe antique furniture. And unless you've like really got that like maybe you've got like the tech and antique furniture like mix going on already, right?
Yeah, that's just called Japan. So
yeah. If you're in Japan. So if you want to get your hands on this awesome VR headset, and again, it works with any VR headset, it's a universal VR headset stand. Consider going to www.asterianproducts.com, plug the code FULLDIVE, that's FULLDIVE, and get $5 off any order, $19.99 or more. It's a pretty sweet deal, and you should do it.
Do it.
You can ask around the Discord. Plenty of people in our Discord have gotten this thing, and they will all agree it's great. It's better than the box your VR headset is currently living in. All right.
Get it out of the box.
Get it out of the box. That should be the tagline.
I know. I really wanted to be a hashtag. Hashtag get it out of the box.
Out of the box. Yeah.
Out of the box.
That's great.
Free the box.
Free the box. Free. It should be free the headset. If anything.
Free the headset.
Yeah,
Right.
there you go.
Okay. We've got some pretty cool games this week to talk about. I personally don't have any, which I'm bummed about, but it's been a very busy week. But that's okay. These guys keep things interested in my stead.
Yeah. Finally, you know me, I love Halloween, but I'm a little happy when it's over because I play way too many horror games. I played quite a bit more Five Nights at Freddy's VR Help Wanted. Destiny, you've also played some back in the day. Tell me about your experience when you played it.
So I love it, but honestly, one of the things I'm most curious about is the comparison to, didn't you say you played it on PSVR?
Yep.
And so I am really curious to know like what your opinion is as far as comparing the two.
Well, it's hard to imagine the listeners haven't heard of or know what Five Nights at Freddy's. So just in case you don't know, it's basically a game where you are sitting in a pizzeria of sorts, and you are the new security guard that got hired. It's called Five Nights at Freddy's because you have to survive 5 nights, one after another, getting progressively harder. And basically, if you're playing number 1, you're sitting at a desk. You have cameras where you can see where these animatronic toy doll, big, huge, lifelike creatures are in the place. And at nighttime, they become active, and they slowly work their way towards the office because they're confused why a human is there, and they think, oh, you need to be shoved back into your animatronic doll, and they do that to murder you. So that's Five Nights at Freddy's in a nutshell. VR.
I love the description.
Good, wholesome fun.
Yeah,
Good wholesome fun.
Except you're in virtual reality where
Family
there's no
friendly.
escape. They're right in your face. There's a lot of jump scares, and they get really in your face. I gotta say, I think as far as the Quest, PSVR, I don't think anything you play this on is really gonna feel any different besides maybe the resolution and stuff. But like, all you're doing is pointing and touching buttons with your fingers to direct what's happening. You're just sitting there. So really on PSVR, it was a great experience actually, because the PSVR has a nice OLED screen. So when you're looking down the
Mm-hmm.
dark hallway, it's actually a pitch black hallway. It's not a gray
Oh, cool.
smear like it would be in my Rift S or in the Quest 2. So it's so immersive in the PSVR. And also the PSVR has really good directional audio. So like I could really tell where the dolls were coming from and what was happening. But it's one of those games that it gets you a little tense and then it jump scares the crap out of you every time you do anything wrong.
Yes,
They
it's
wear off
totally a
though.
jump scare game.
So it only scares you if you do something wrong, though. So if you play through perfectly, do everything that you need to, you won't ever get scared.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
I mean, like, okay, you still feel tense, like Jay said. Like, it doesn't matter, like, you're not getting that jump scare, so you're not, like, screaming per se, but the entire time, it's like you can feel the hair, like, on the back of your neck. You're just
Right.
like, "Oh my gosh,"
It's
like,
just
it's
it keeps your adrenaline going the whole time.
yeah, exactly. Like, the first time I played the one that you're talking about where you're sitting in the office. Like, literally, that was my first game that I played on it, and it was so much fun. Because like, it's very, very interactive too. Like, so the dude calls you on the phone, he's like walking you through it, and it's just insane. Like, I've never played a game like that. Like, I had never played any of the Five Nights at Freddy's previous to playing it on VR.
Yeah, I hadn't either, but I had luckily seen enough of Jacksepticeye and others play the first one, so I kind of had an idea. But then I got to like the second game, which has other complications, and by the third game, I had no idea what I was doing. Now there's extra modes to it. You can go through in this game. So the VR version comes with games 1, 2, and 3, and then it comes with a bunch of extra modes. And one of them is called Nightmare something. And you play this, and you're now a child inside a bedroom with a flashlight, and you have to like try.
Wait, really?
Yeah, you have to like try and spot these monsters coming at you in your bed. You have to run across the room to the hall and run across the room to the other door and like hold the door shut if they get close. That was even freakier because you get to this one with this tentacle monster and you like will turn your flashlight and you'll see these tentacles scurry away. And it was like, oh, it's the game. The jump scares wear off though. They hit you hard, and then after a while, you start to see the funniness. You start to laugh more. It's not as terrifying, but the game just has so much panic. You're constantly like, you'll see a doll start walking towards you, and you're quickly trying to like hit the right button to figure out how to keep them out of the room with you. But you're right, Adam. If you somehow magically knew how to play this game perfectly and played it without making any mistakes, without anything ever getting you, you wouldn't actually really get jump scared the whole game. You would just have a very tense game of like, you see them on the camera and then you go, okay, you hit a button to close that door, slide up that vent, or stop them somehow.
So it's basically whack-a-mole, It's like you just have to hit the right button or do the right thing when they come up.
Yeah.
Exactly. Or it's almost like being in Saw, like the movie.
Oh,
So
well,
the
when you
entire time
explain
it's
it
like
like
this
that,
intense feeling. Yeah, it's like this intense feeling of trying to figure out this puzzle and trying to like make it through, or you're about to be screwed. You're about to be turned into an animatronic.
Yeah. Luckily, that part doesn't happen, but they just scream and jump in your face, and then it's over.
Was that the
Oh, that
mode
would be
called
cool.
Propagation?
Huh?
Was that the mode called?
Propagation, yeah. So Rip is reading through our chat, and someone was talking about Propagation, which is a game that the three of us were able to try last week. That game was truly terrifying. How did it rank up to Propagation in terms of sort of the scares?
Oh, not even close.
Which one more?
Propagation is one of the worst games in my life I cannot tell you if it wasn't for the fact that I was.
Is that the one with spiders?
Yeah. If it wasn't for the fact that I was streaming it, I would have
gotcha.
quit playing during that part. But I fought through because I was streaming, and I hated every second of that spider part in that game. It was just, that was the worst. Five Nights at Freddy's in comparison to that is like a 5 out of 10. Like that game was awful. But Five Nights at Freddy's is still scary. A 5 is still scary, but it's nothing like that. Like, it's a quick jump scare, and then it's over. Where that thing was just sheer terror for the 5 or 10 minutes that I was fighting those spiders.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I hated it.
Yeah,
I'm getting PTSD.
Rip, it's a great
Very
game. You should try it.
It sounds so fun.
You really should.
I love these games. Honestly,
Do it,
okay.
do it.
Propagation I might enjoy because I don't mind. It's a VR shooter, right?
Yes.
So
yeah.
Wave shooter.
I actually enjoy VR shooters because that, like, I don't know. I get to like test my skills, so to speak.
Well,
and
Rip, your
that can be
challenge
fun.
for this next week, Propagation VR is
I know,
completely free on Steam. Be sure
You
to
know
try
what?
it out and tell us.
I would like to watch you
Well,
play it if you're available for
Yeah,
this.
please stream it.
I'm going to right now boot up Steam. Apparently, it was closed for some reason. I think it needed to update
It'll just be a
and
constant stream of
get it
profanity.
downloaded.
Yeah, you get it, and then I'll finish playing it through.
World's
so-
Average Gamer says, I like spiders. I don't know if you're telling the truth, but I like spiders too. I think jumping spiders are the cutest darn little things.
I have no problem
Ooh.
with spiders in
Have
real
fun
life.
with this game
but
then.
the feeling
What is
of
wrong
feeling
with
like they're
y'all?
crawling all over my body, that really gets to me in VR. I do not like feeling like they're on me and just ugh. Yeah, I don't
You
like
can
that.
almost feel it. The sound design is incredible. We need to
Yeah.
stop talking about propagation,
Yeah,
though.
I love horror, but that's my no. I don't do spiders.
Do you have any final thoughts on Five Nights at Freddy's Destiny?
So, I guess what I was asking earlier in comparison, not just visually, but in the game itself. I was wondering if there was different story modes or if it's literally all the same, just two different platforms.
Yeah, from what I understand, it's exactly the same game.
Exactly the same.
Yeah, and pretty much controlled the same because there's no analog sticks, there's no movement. You literally are just pointing and tapping. So it's
Hmm.
the same game across all platforms. For those of you out there wondering, it's on every platform now. You can get it on Quest. There's no motion sickness because you don't really move at all. You're totally fine. And if you like Five Nights at Freddy's or anything about you like scary, it is worth playing, I would say. It's a very unique experience, if nothing else.
It is, yeah, for sure.
All right,
Well-
but wrapping up with Five Nights at Freddy's, Jay, you played Deracine this last week.
Deracine, I don't know how to pronounce it.
Deracine.
There should be an accent over the E there. I don't know how to say it, but so this
I'm
I'm
game.
pretty certain it's Deracine.
Deracine. Well, there's still an accent over the E, so explain that to me. Deracine.
Oh, there
Love
is?
butchering
Yeah.
stuff.
Deracine.
Oh.
Deracine. I don't know.
Sounds
Now
like
it's
If
Deracine.
anyone knows how to pronounce it, please link us how to pronounce it in the comments or
sound
something.
it out in the chat right now. Do the full little sound. No, so I played this game. I'm not sure if it's a PSVR exclusive, but I think it is. It's made by From Software and Japan Studios, and usually Japan Studios is only PSVR games. And this game, it was very unusual. So it's a story-driven game. You're at a boarding school, but you are a fairy at this school, and you're trying to you move through time really weirdly because you're a fairy, and so you're trying to interact with these kids there and show them that you exist and affect their lives differently. Now, I didn't get through all the game. People say it gets creepy. I never got to that point. This was the most relaxing thing I've ever played, so I didn't get to the creepy part, but it was so unique. And man, I gotta say, if I needed to try and show anyone what the graphical capabilities are on the PSVR, I would put this game in because I could not believe
Really?
how good I couldn't believe how good it looked. I picked up a book at full arms length and I could easily read the words on it. I was like, how is
Wow.
this even possible? Japan Studios always pulls off black magic when it comes to PSVR titles because that Astrobot that was made by them, you put that on and you're like, this looks like PCVR. It looks so good, and you don't know how it's even possible. Cute game. It's old now, so it was teleportation based movement and it was click turns, which of course I was annoyed about both of those, but I mean, it's an old game, but really unique, really unusual way you interact with time and the kids. Very hard to know what the heck you're supposed to do though. The game, it has little hints and stuff here and there, but there was one part where I had to go around and tickle people's noses with some piece of paper, and I was like, what am I doing here with my life?
I'm looking at screenshots here, and for some reason it reminds me of Bloodborne, like a Dark Souls game, just and its kind of style.
Well, it is From Software, so
It looked like it.
Who
yeah.
made that series?
This is someone's reminding us in the chat. I was staring at bricks on a wall because the lighting on them and the way it looked like the wall was moist and you could see the bricks and the mortar sticking out. I was reaching out, touching. I was like, how does this look this good?
Nice.
For PSVR, I don't know. It wasn't on sale, so it's still $30 or something. I wouldn't say go buy that now, but if you find this thing on clearance on a shelf somewhere, just get it, just for the experience of seeing this game. I don't know how they pulled it off, but it looks incredible.
And tickling noses.
Yeah. You can't get a
Yeah.
higher recommendation than that. So good it made Jay stare at bricks,
Right.
But how does it get creepy? Because this sounds like a very cutesy game. So yeah, I'm wondering
Well, for you
what gets
probably
weird
wouldn't
about
be
it?
scared, Destiny. For
Yeah.
us regular
But this does
mortals.
seem like 'cause it's a fairy. So what direction
the
do
fairy
they
gets
take
evil
where
or
it gets
mischief.
creepy?
I don't-
Yeah, does
I
it
think,
turn
know.
evil? What do they mean?
Well, I can take life force from stuff. So like at one point I took the life force from some grapes to like revive someone's flower that was dead in their hand. And then like there's one point where an older guy in it. This is kind of a spoiler, just be prepared. It's an old game. I can spoil it. An old guy dies and I take his life force, then go back in time and prevent something bad from happening to one of the kids. So
Oh,
like
wow.
I imagine it starts to go down that avenue more and probably gets crazier, but it
Hmm.
was unique. I'm planning on finishing it on stream because I played the first half of it and it was really interesting. I definitely want to finish it and see what happens.
Destiny, have you ever heard of the series, A Series of Unfortunate Events? Are you
Yes,
familiar with
yeah,
that book?
yeah.
Kind of picture that. That's that like that sort of like creepy. There's nothing horror happening per se, but I mean, I haven't played it. I'm looking at videos and Google Images as we speak, but that's kind of the vibe I'm getting of like something's off the entire time.
Okay, I could see that.
There's something going on there. It's teleportation, so you got no motion sickness risk. I would say obviously wait for a sale if you're going to like find it on a clearance or something and check it out. But
Mhm.
it's interesting. I wish that of course we had free movement and you could turn, but hey, it's an old game. So Adam, you got a code of Swordsman from me because I'm so kind. I even give my enemies codes to games, and it's gotten
My
updated a few
enemies.
times. It's gotten
Hey, you two
updated a
need to
few
make up.
times.
It
We need to
has. It's
make
been
out.
updated
Okay,
quite a
Destiny,
bit.
switch seats with me. Rip just said we need to make out. Wait, make up or
No,
make
no.
out?
Make
Okay.
up. Make up. You need to get
It's
over
like,
your
oh,
little
dang
petty
it.
macaroni dispute. Eh,
Okay, okay, that almost went real far there. Adam, tell us about Swordsman?
Right, so we were able to talk about Swordsman a couple weeks ago, and while we thought that it was a good concept, it had some problems. And so it's gotten a lot of updates, and so Jay and I revisited it, and I was really worried about it. I was hoping so much that it got better, and I popped into one match, and then I did like just the sword slide into someone's face, and I'm just like, nope, it's the exact same. And then I started playing with a couple more of the features. I was so worried, and I went into Horde mode. Now, Horde mode is something that they released specifically for Halloween, where instead of other swordsmen and people from different eras that come at you, it's a horde of zombies, and it is simply survive as long as possible. And I gotta say, that one mode showed me the potential of this game and of these
All right.
developers. I was worried. No, we were really harsh on it when it first came out. Rightfully so, I might add, but we were kind of harsh. And I didn't really have a whole lot of hope for this game. The zombie horde mode was incredible. They came from all sides at you. It was dark, it was spooky, and when you hack at the zombies, bits and pieces of them would fall off. Like I was able to hack off an arm and this zombie was still coming at me. Like it was a really well-designed game, and it was tough and it was exhilarating. And not all that creepy, which was nice. At least for me. I don't know. Maybe it was being armed with a sword, like a couple of swords helped, but
Right.
If you activate this chat, if you activate slow mode in Swordsman VR, you can put a sword in the air and hit it into someone.
yeah.
Ooh.
That sounds sick.
Right.
That
So they've
sounds
done a
pretty
whole ton
darn
of
cool.
updates. They've made the enemy AI a little bit smarter, especially in the later levels. You can throw weapons. They've added a lot of interesting features. And apparently in slow-mo, if you hit it just right, now you can only get slow-mo by pairing. So you have to be skilled at blocking enemy attacks to activate it. But you can totally throw a sword up in the air and then use your other sword to smack it towards the enemy,
Nice.
which is cool. You know?
That sounds pretty cool.
And so they've actually done a lot of good job. It shows while the base game maybe it still has that sword face plunge awfulness. It shows that the
Sword
potential
has the what?
the sword slide, the face where you just
I think
take
Rip
the sword
wasn't
and just
here.
slide it into That's right. Were you missing on our original Swordsman VR review?
I might
Do you
have been.
remember us talking about this game? All right.
I don't
I
remember a
remember
zombie
there's
sort
mode
of a
being
weird
described.
Yeah, there's a weird, I don't want to say glitch because it almost seems intentional, where you just take your sword and you just like just slide it right into there. And it's just
All right.
instant death.
Why were you
Okay.
shushing them as you did it, you psycho? What the heck
I
was
don't
that?
know.
You just
Well,
go
That's what he
because
does
shush.
every time.
it's so
Stick it in
Just
their
take
eye.
it. Just
It
take
doesn't
it.
make any noise, and that's honestly
Just
how
let it
I would
happen.
treat it.
It's a
I
force of
just
habit
walk
for
up with
Adam.
I just walk up with the sword and I just go shh, and I just plunge the sword right into their face, and it's just instant death.
I'm so glad I'm sitting over here. You were giving me the creeps. Thinking of that, when I was a kid, we watched Saving Private Ryan, and there's this scene where the guy's like, shh, as he shoves a knife into someone. And I was like, this is Adam now in my mind.
Oh,
Oh, you're
flash.
freaking me out. Yeah.
Well, you
yeah.
know, it's but the horde mode really shows me that this game actually does have potential. I took a look at the roadmap after being so impressed with it, and they have a lot of really good features coming down the line. This is going to be a game that, while maybe it's still not at the level that I would like it for something like Blade and Sorcery, this is definitely a game that I'm going to be excited to see what they do with it in a couple months here.
Yeah, they're adding grabbing people to it, and hopefully punching will come with that. But you'll be able to like actually grab people and stab them. And this update did come with a few glitches when I was playing, though. Like in some levels, the enemies wouldn't walk at you anymore; they would just
Yes.
stand in place.
They just stand there.
And I actually had so much fun with that though, because then I was just throwing swords at them repeatedly, trying to dart one into their head just right. And since they wouldn't come at me, I could do it as long as I wanted. I could just keep throwing these swords.
Even if you manage, just keep going.
They added axes as an update, and when you hit people with the axes, they can actually go into their skulls and get stuck. Like this game has far already in what, a month? Far from what it was. It's come a long ways. I definitely think if they keep on this game is now becoming a worth buy. Where before, when I first got it, I was like, I don't. I was like, only for PSVR since you don't have Blade and Sorcery, but otherwise don't get it. But like now, it's becoming more of a must buy because it's getting really fun and really interesting and different than Blade and Sorcery too.
It is.
So-
I'm not sure if I would quite put it at a must buy for me, but
getting there.
I definitely would put it in the titles to watch because it is getting there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they're
So
listening
right
to the
now-
feedback.
Yeah, no, that's always good to see. Right now, it's still got mixed reviews on Steam, and that comes in large part from a lot of people that reviewed this game back in September when the game came out. It got some pretty scathing reviews on Steam. Do you think if you were to guess the Steam reviews, if you're like familiar with the typical review system they have, what would you say it's worth right now, not counting the like what it used to be like?
I would say I would probably give it mostly positive. It's really improved.
Yeah, it's not only that for me. I know that they're still doing more. Like I would say, give it another few weeks even and see where we're at because this is coming so fast. But I would say it's close to mostly positive, and in a few weeks it might be like this might be really good because once you can actually grab people and like push them and stuff, like that's going to really add this. Because the problem I'm having now is like if your sword gets stuck in someone's body and you're like trying to hit them off with your other sword, it doesn't work very well. If I could just physically push them away and pull my sword back out of them, that would be really helpful. That would
Right.
be cool.
I will say in horde mode though, getting your sword stuck in a zombie was the most terrifying thing in the entire world and really fit thematically.
Yeah, and then they kept coming too. You're like trying to get your sword out.
So the
Yeah.
game's
Wait, just give me a second.
so the game MSRP is $20. Do you think $20? Do you think it is worth that amount?
It depends. How much
It
is Blade and
depends.
Sorcery selling for?
$20, but it's
can
$20
check.
early access, I think, technically. So it should release for more.
The Swords and Sorcery?
Blade
Blade
and
and
Sorcery.
Sorcery.
Or Blade and Sorcery? Yeah, Blade and Sorcery is probably the thing that bugs me a little bit is that this game is not in early access. It's a quote released fully. It's supposed to be a full game right now. It's not in green light. It's not in early access. It is out.
Well, that's what they did something different. They released it and then kept adding to it rapidly, unlike most companies would have said it's early access, and they didn't do that.
Right.
I think $20 is a fair price. If it's on PSVR, who don't have the option of Blade and Sorcery, I would say this is actually a must-buy at this point. On
PSVR 100%.
On PC, okay, still maybe watch it for a minute and see what happens. But with everything they're planning for it, and so far they've delivered, I feel really confident about where this game's going.
Mm-hmm. How does the combat generally compare? Is Swordsman VR still, or Blade and Sorcery still above it, or is this trying to take that throne?
Blade and Sorcery is still above it, but that's just
Yeah.
because you can cut off arms, and it's just so fun. Blade and Sorcery is just so
You
fun.
can cut off arms and then huck the arms at other enemies. I mean, where else
Yeah.
can you do that?
Fair enough.
This is still missing that interactivity with the other people that Blade and Sorcery has. Once they add the grabbing and stuff, that'll change. But for now, the only way you're interacting is with your weapon. You can't like push and shove and punch. Like, you have a kick button, doesn't work super well. Then that's kind of cool. But once they add that, it'll start to actually feel like it's competing with Blade and Sorcery.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I think Blade and Sorcery also has a kick button that is kind of pathetic, if I
Yeah,
remember
yeah,
correctly.
it does.
Interesting.
Just
But it
stop
also
worrying
has-
about the kick button. Just let it go.
Blade and Sorcery has
Yeah,
jumping.
seriously, just focus on punching.
I guess
Which
I haven't
Swordsman
played a
doesn't have
game where you
jump.
got to kick.
It's
What
weird.
game?
She says she
Yeah.
hasn't.
No, I
It's
haven't.
weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, for good reason, perhaps. I don't know if that's something that they need to focus on. Not until they've got better, like, I don't know.
Everything.
Every,
Foot
not until we've got
tracking.
better. Yeah.
Foot tracking.
uh,
I
It's
wanna
like if
break
you
my
have a
foot
list
on a
of
foot
100
tracking.
things that
Yeah.
you need to do, it is number 101 on the list.
Well, the deck of gear is, halfway there as it adds hip tracking.
I'm not gonna be hip. I'm not gonna be hip butting my enemies though. Maybe I will.
I'll bet they'll have that feature too, though. Kick
Mhm.
button.
All right. I think that's it for the game section. And with that, we get to roll right into the discussion section. No sponsor for the discussion section as usual. So we just get to go right into it
Let's do it.
with a very exciting announcement for those that are tuning in. Say you're in the live stream and you're catching this late. Say you listen to the podcast and you're a maniac who doesn't start at the beginning. And this is our 6th month podcast. That's right. We have been doing this for 6 months. It's crazy. It's been a while. And, there's it's so exciting. It's so, as the person who originally had the vision for this podcast is like, this is what I dreamed of for this. And it's super cool to see. Brings a tear to my eye.
Oh.
It's like your babies all grew up and married each
Baby's
other.
all good. So, we'll talk a little bit about our experiences and go into more depth. But I just wanted to thank, first off, the wonderful hosts that were fools enough to respond to vague Reddit posts and Destiny for somehow deciding to follow Jay and along with that.
Thank you.
And of course, most importantly, our audience. You guys are amazing. You make it all happen because, as a lot of people say, like, oh, I'd do this even if no one would do it. I'm not gonna say that. Well, of course we want people to listen. That's the point of this. Otherwise I'd do something that, I don't know, makes money, I guess. This thing makes enough money to cover itself, and that's the goal. But it's super fun, and you guys make it just like you guys make it worth it. So thank you for listening. We hope you stick around. If this is your first podcast, we hope you like it. And yeah, I just wanted to say that. Oh, and of course, thank you to our lovely avid divers over in Patreon. They actually give us money, which it helps. Consider becoming a Patreon member. $5 a month. I'm just saying.
Well, and
Just
But
saying.
man, 6 months. Wow.
Yeah.
It's been a crazy year.
Oh yeah.
This
During
podcast
the
has
course-
been like our one constant.
Right.
It hasn't changed.
You're not kidding. Adam's changed jobs. Destiny's had her tattoo, but didn't something. There was a big thing that was happening. I guess COVID really affected your two businesses, if I remember correctly.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And Jay's a YouTuber, which is always in flux just due to the nature of being a YouTuber. Been there, done that. And and yeah, and I graduated from college. Like, amongst all of this is a lot's happened, and this started kind of right around when COVID was becoming a thing.
Right after the lockdown for me. Yeah.
Right after the lockdown.
And that was honestly one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to get into it. So I found out about the podcast just through some random Reddit post that Rip put out there. He's like, "Hey, I'm starting a podcast. If you thinking about being interested," and I'm just sitting there looking at that. I was like, "Yeah, I want to do that." Signed up, and he made me go through like an audition process, But it was
Weird. I didn't
great,
have
and
to do that. I didn't have to. Did you have to audition Destiny?
We just did that group call.
Are you kidding me? I'm the only one you auditioned.
Oh, Jay did a thing.
Apparently, he didn't trust me well enough, and so he's like, "Man, I don't, Jay's this YouTuber, and Destiny's obviously awesome. I don't know about this Adam guy."
I'm pretty
certain I had to
certain
go through a trial run podcast.
I'm pretty certain Jay did do that. I'm pretty certain you had. I gave everyone like 2 news pieces. Like, hey, just introduce it as if you would. Well, pick one, introduce it as you would on the live podcast.
See, there went my whole joke. I was trying to just make Adam more self-conscious over here, and Rip just ruined it. Just smashed it.
Yeah, I felt like
well,
Rip
Destiny
was a chicken
didn't.
Jay.
I don't think Destiny did do that. I think she got to escape that because by then I was mostly done with the auditions. Yeah,
but it was great right at the beginning of the podcast, though, because I had just moved to a new state for a job.
Right.
And the lockdown hit, and it hit hard. Like I was already working from home full time. There was nowhere to go. And it was great, honestly, at the beginning of the lockdown to be able to sit down with a group of friends every week. It was awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Especially for the socializing. It's definitely been very fun.
Yeah. It's cool to have, especially in VR. VR allows us to like sort of be together. It feels like I've got like my book club that I go to every every Wednesday night. We just happen to be streaming and recording the whole thing.
How do you take something as awesome as this podcast and just compare it to something so not cool like a book club? Just
It's like we're meeting for tea.
I for one think book clubs are cool.
and that is why you fail. It's been an amazing 6 months. Like for those of you who are here on the YouTube, like obviously you can see the subscriber count here and kind of what's happened, but across all platforms, it's a lot to look at. And maybe Rip can share some more stuff here, but like there's so many people that listen in different places on different platforms. It's like you have to like look at all this data, and it's like the growth has been amazing. We're talking to people across the world that are listening to us of all people about VRs. Like I'll let Rip go further because I'm just amazed by it. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, thank you.
So first and foremost, I think a lot of you, especially those in the live stream, might be surprised. By far, our biggest audience is, and I'm most excited about this because it's where I put the most work, is the podcast itself, the thing that goes on Spotify, it goes on Google Podcasts, all that. That has been just perfect. It's so I can't share too many specifics just due to legal reasons, but I can give you vague numbers. So first off, we are now at the point where we get over 2,000 unique listeners a month, which is just so cool. That's a pretty significant amount of people. Of that amount of people, well, I mean, first off, you're from all over. I think like the only place we don't really get any listens is like Slavic countries and Middle Africa.
Yeah, what gives Slavic countries? Don't you like VR?
There's even some Middle Eastern like listeners there, but no, you get to like,
which is awesome. Come join our Discord. Like, I want to talk to you.
Right? So obviously the US is, that's where most of you guys are, but lately I submitted the podcast to an Indian podcast hosting thing, and apparently there just must be huge demand for VR news there because like overnight half of our listeners became Indian listeners. So, or not became, added.
We gained another 50% directly from India.
Right. So now at this point,
into overnight.
Yeah. So like I want to say over like 30% of our audience is from India, which like I don't know what you guys are doing because I don't see you in the Discord. I don't see you in the live stream. So you're, if you're one of
come
those
join,
people from
interact
India,
with us,
yeah, we want to see you. We want to talk to you guys.
But
That's
one
the
of
whole
the
point of
most
this.
but that's one of the most exciting things about the podcast for me is that we're not just sort of staying still with this stuff. We're trying to evolve and grow and expand and figure out new things, and that's something we've consistently seen over the last 6 months, and it's really exciting to be a part of it here with you guys, being able to interact with you. But especially, oh man, do you guys remember back in our first podcast? That was a little rocky start at
Don't talk
first.
about that.
We've definitely grown in being able to, sort of juggle our conversation, have a lot better flow between us, and it's been.
I gotta
really
listen
fun
to it
be a
because
part
I
of
feel
that.
like I don't know. I don't feel like I'm any different. So like, I need to listen to it and see and be like, oh gosh, I need to have the cringe moment.
No,
when
Jay,
you go back and
you
watch
haven't
your
changed
first
at
one.
all.
I need to go back and have that cringe moment when you listen to your first thing or you watch your first video and you're like, what was I thinking? Like, I need to have that. I need to hear this podcast again.
Mm-hmm.
Because I kind of want to just sit there. Like, I'll put it on and Nat and I'll try to listen to it or something. And I'll just be like, shut it off. Shut it off. I don't want to hear it. I want that moment. That sounds fun to me.
No.
Yeah. I mean, maybe maybe that entire 30+% is VPN users, but I don't think so. It very much coincides with when I submitted it to that platform. I forget what it's called. maybe I can grab that real quick. Let me grab the distribution section here. No, not Podcast Index. Ghana. So GAANA. I'm just going to quote what Captivate has here as like their description. Is India's leading music, podcast, and short videos platform with more than 150 million monthly active users. Open your podcast up to the Indian market with direct submission to Ghana via Captivate.
You see, 150 million users, man. We're missing out on a big market here. We need to, we need to hone down and capture that market, right?
Well, that's what we're doing. We are tapping it. We're on there, man.
We're tapping it. Amazing.
And what's fun though is that it's not just us who's changed. The VR market in 6 months has changed dramatically. Yeah. And we've been there every step of the way, right?
We started to see some speed in the stuff coming out and the advancements. Like what we've been waiting for only, I don't know, 4 years now to finally start to see like, wow, a lot's happening.
That ball is rolling.
We definitely picked a right time to start this podcast though, because
it
was perfect time frame in order to really talk about the biggest news on VR that's really starting to expand into the general market. Because before, I feel like it was just this little niche thing, It's like if you had VR, you were like the only person in your city to have VR.
Yeah.
I still feel like
I am gonna miss that though. Like I have loved being like the VR guy. Like everybody comes over and they want to try it, they want to play it. I'm gonna miss that when it's like
you had a
TV.
monopoly on it.
Yeah, when everyone has one. Like it's gonna be a little different because man, I've had so much fun showing it to so many people.
Oh yeah.
Luckily, I live in a small town.
Yeah, I know. It's like I invited some friends over. They didn't have VR. And like, hey, you want to try the VR headset? It's like, oh yeah, we've tried one of those before.
Right? You're like,
kind of hurts a little bit.
Yeah, your head kind of hung.
Yeah, I'm running out of people to blow their minds.
But at the same time, that just means that money's really being put into it, and this sort of this medium that I love is really expanding into all sorts of people, and that feels really good.
Well, this statistic has been out for a while, but they do say that, or Steam suggests through their analytics, that more people have VR than a 4K monitor, which still surprises me.
I don't know a 4K monitor. I have a 4K TV, but not a monitor. My monitors are just for editing.
More people play VR games than play in 4K, apparently.
I have a 4K monitor, but that's only because when you're programming, man, it is so nice just to shove so much code onto a single screen.
I was taking a programming course when I picked up it's not 4K, it's a 1440, but still like just 1080 to 1440. I was like, oh, it was beautiful. It was gorgeous. You really can't go back in resolution. You just can't.
Yes, but VR is better than 4K though.
Oh yeah.
Can't wait till I'm programming in VR. I know that there's tools for that, but I'm waiting for like my actual job is I put on a VR headset and I just go to town programming. You know, that's going to be incredible.
Let's see. Do I have any other things I needed to touch on?
We have one thing we didn't put in there, but do we have any? Do we want to say, okay, the next 6 months? Like, do we have anything we're thinking about doing? Anything we want to throw out there now? And I don't know. This is totally unrehearsed. So
right. Well, we've got a couple things. First off, very soon. In fact, I was going to mention to these guys after the podcast. Is we're going to start scheduling the Beat Saber competition amongst the hosts. We are going to decide once and for all. You'll have been curious, who is the best at Beat Saber? Well, Beat Saber's got its multiplayer update, so we can live stream that and just prove that
not.
Jay is still the best.
Yeah, spoiler alert, it's not Adam, you know.
I will fight. I will fight for it.
I gotta say though, I played a tiny bit with Adam just to see what the game was like. And for someone who's only spent like less than 20 hours in Beat Saber, I feel like if you spent 100 hours in it, you would be a pro. Like,
how many hours are you at?
You were
Jay?
definitely holding your own.
I have no idea how many hours. I played it on PSVR a ton. Then I played it on Oculus Store a ton. Now I played it on Steam a ton. I have probably hundreds of hours into it. Easily.
You know, there's this wonderful thing called addition, where if you take all those numbers, you can know how much you've played.
But I can't look it up on PlayStation.
Yeah,
really?
Sony doesn't show. It's so dumb.
I don't think Oculus does either.
It does. Oculus does.
But this is also between 2 different PCs and a Quest and everything. So if I had to guess, I would just throw a number out there. I would say probably 300 or 400 hours. But I have no idea.
All right. Well, I better start practicing then.
I have got 60 hours apparently. I thought I had more than that, to be honest.
Yeah, I have like 16.
I bet with your controllers, it's really fun.
The controllers, I don't know. I actually might prefer the Vive controllers for Beat Saber.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Really?
I feel like with the Vive controllers, they come out at a kind of weird angle.
Right.
So it's just a little bit off.
Because the Vive controllers are more based around a pistol grip, not a like sword / lightsaber grip, right?
Yeah, and I mean it works for like the saber, and it does feel comfortable for just about everything. But I don't know, the blade just comes out at a little bit of a weird angle.
I think there's some adjustment, or at least with the mod, there was you could angle it different. On Steam alone, I have 121 hours. And that's probably mostly mine. I mean, a few people have played it on Steam with me, but I can't imagine they would have been more than 5 hours of that. And that's just Steam.
World Average Gamer says he has 0 hours.
Oh, man. Wow.
I even have that.
Dude, have you not played Beat Saber? You gotta play it. Like, even if you don't think you like it, you gotta try it at least. It's so good.
You and try it custom. Custom for me is what makes it fun.
Yes, the custom songs.
I think he has a PSVR,
such a joy.
Though?
Oh,
the PSVR has Beat Saber, right?
Not custom songs.
But yeah, not custom.
Oh, right. But still.
Yeah, but is there any other plans that we have for 6 months? I know that we're toying with the idea of maybe inviting people into live viewing of our live streams. So you don't just watch it on YouTube. You're able to come into this program that lets us chat in VR and be able to sit with us in VR live and experience the podcast with us.
So I touched a bit on that last episode, so I don't want to go too much into depth, but to be honest, it's kind of more the same. That said, because we talked about this last week where I said we would like to, I have discussed this a little bit more with the associate producer. The answer is there is no news, but we definitely, it's something we're always looking at. Just due to the nature of just every factor of how we run this.
People.
Yeah, there's so many things working against it, but it just it sounds exciting, and we want to be able to do that.
Really Sony PSVR 2'd that. It's a part of our future. I'm not going to say now. I'm not going to say in the next 6 months, but it will happen. It's in our future. Someday.
Hey, Microsoft Flight Sim basically said the same thing, and they managed to get VR in their game surprisingly quickly. So you never know.
Yeah, only because people cried so much about it.
I know. They really did. Well, fortunately, not enough of you are crying for me to worry about it. enough,
You
I
don't
guess.
know.
Hey Rip, did you save our audition tapes? Were
No,
you
I didn't.
recording during those?
I
Oh man,
didn't.
that would have been incredible to release.
Oh,
I
that
wonder,
would have
like,
been
if there was
funny.
something like that, it's like the very
That would
first
be
time.
good. That would have been. I'm now going to beat myself up over that. That would have been great. But I do still have the original recording. We're playing around with the idea of releasing it.
So for those of you who don't know, we had a mythical session 0, an episode 0.
Yes.
This was a test episode, and everything that could have gone wrong probably did go wrong.
Plenty of things went wrong, which was the purpose of it.
Yes, but we have it, and so we'll see. We'll see. And Rip, I suppose, knows the answer to that. And if he knows, I think he's keeping it to himself. But
I mean, it's like functional, but not. There's a reason, that I knew ahead of time that like the first episode's gonna have problems. That's just how these things always go. And lo and behold, it did have problems because that's how things go. That's and my basically I didn't want the first episode if people open up Spotify and they're like, this is a cool podcast, I'm gonna listen to the first episode, and it's this thing that has all these audio problems and like it was our first try at this, right? I didn't want that to be our first foot forward, right?
Right.
But
yeah, sure, this is a cool pod. Dear God, what is this?
Yeah.
now we're in episode 26. But by the time someone gets to episode, I don't know, let's say I release it as episode 27 for some reason, or 27.5, they'll hopefully by then they've either decided they like the podcast or not.
Does anyone, maybe Natalie out there can tell me, does anyone listen to podcasts like that? Because I feel like the only time I ever have, I always go to the most recent episode. Because this isn't Cobra Kai on Netflix. I don't have some backstory. I got to learn here. I always go to the recent. Does anyone actually start a podcast from the top?
Oh, sure. I mean, it depends on okay, you wouldn't listen to the most, Welcome to the Night Vale. You'd start with episode 1 on
I don't
that.
know what that is.
Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking
You
about.
don't know what Welcome to Night for podcast hosts, these guys don't listen to enough podcasts. Clearly.
We're VR podcast hosts, first of all.
So Welcome to Night Vale is one of the most popular podcasts. It's just I don't even know how to describe it. It's like pretend news for a town, but it's kind of Lovecraftian and totally made up. And it's so all sorts of weird stuff happens, like a purple cloud that controls people's minds, and it's just really funny and super creepy, and it's great. I think Destiny might like it.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, but that's there's plenty of narrative podcasts, and those are episodic. And I know even non-narrative podcasts, I will listen to the most recent episode. But typically what I'll do is I'll keep up with the first episode or the most recent episode, but I'll also be working my way up from the very first episode. So I'll be continuing with what's current and also catching up with their with the backlog.
Kind of like on YouTube, if you first see a video but it's somebody's newer video, you like it, so then you kind of want to see what other stuff they came out with,
Yeah, you
and kind
roll
of
it
go
back
back
a
through the
bit.
past stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know that
Exactly.
kind of time. My podcasts I listen to are usually news based though, so there's not a lot of relevance to go back and listen to an old podcast. Unless there's some special, I see they did a Christmas one or some funny one, I might go back. But otherwise, I just if I find something I like, I'll stick with it from then on. But I don't usually go digging in the past. I don't have time for that.
You learn some interesting stuff when you do that, I think.
Oh, I'm sure. Everybody would see me and Adam 6 months ago all chummy, and now I can't stand him. They can see why that happened.
Were we ever chummy at the beginning? Even in Orbis VR, I feel like we were trying to murder each other.
I was at least kind.
Adam's
to you,
but were we?
That really changed.
But were we though? Yeah.
Orbis
and
VR.
then the truth about the
times.
macaroni came out, and it
that
was
was
all
a
downhill from there. I feel like that was the beginning of the end for Jay and I, right?
That's why I have to separate y'all, sit in the middle.
Yeah.
We have to break them up after the podcast. They just build up so much tension. They just go for blows.
We go to Creed. We switch to Creed next and
yeah,
take each other out.
But seriously though, like in the last 6 months, I feel like there have been few things as divisive as the macaroni. It is the joke that would not die from that one time, that one question. And it has been
the problem
featured.
was it wasn't a
It's
joke.
genius.
You actually ate it with a spoon, and everyone disowned you. Everyone in the chat disowned you too.
There were plenty of people in chat that
There was
also
like
said
one in chat, and then
there was
you,
more than
just because you're a
one.
contrarian,
And you know that
tried
one
to join his side.
viewer is my best
Also,
friend now.
I asked plenty of people I know, and lots of people eat macaroni with a spoon. It's not as weird as you think it is, Jay.
It's like those people that wipe standing up. Those people are weirdos. Okay. Don't you even say a word right now, Adam.
I'm not saying anything.
I know you're gonna try and say something here.
I'm not even going to try with that one. That one's a little odd.
Imagine 6 months from now what this is gonna be like with how this is going right now. It's gonna be
I'm sure that
interesting.
we'll find something new to argue about in the next 6 months. It'll probably be something like kiwis are better than oranges or something like that, right?
I like
we'll
people
talk
from
about
New
it for the next
Zealand,
year.
So
Okay,
that's
people in chat got excited about the idea of listening to the first podcast on
God.
Patreon, so I'm afraid I might have to
No.
release it there
No.
at the very least.
That's at
I don't
least
know
fair.
if I've ever had more anxiety in my life.
That podcast.
No, the
honestly-
most anxiety I've ever had in my entire life was when Jay Bratt discovered my old dysfunctional YouTube series that I made in high school, and I've never been more mortified.
Aw.
I shouldn't have told you. I should have just
I
leaked
know,
it to
right?
everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Like, hey, go
Yeah,
look at
but
Adam's
luckily-
channel.
Poor Adam.
We have a decent amount of YouTube subscribers, and it feels great. But my YouTube channel has exactly one subscriber, and it is Jay.
Oh man.
First comment.
So the next 6 months.
to the next 6
yeah, to the next 6 months.
Natalie and some others made and K27 made a good point. You know, they're not listening to podcasts as much. That was actually, and continues to be, one of the struggles we have here is right now, or at least during this whole COVID pandemic, you know, a lot of people are now working from home. People aren't driving as much, and simultaneously, because everyone's home, they're all like, you know what, I'm bored, I want to make a podcast. I promise I had this idea before COVID.
Sure.
But yeah, that's always been an uphill battle for really anyone trying to start a podcast now. Listeners are significantly down, and the amount of people making podcasts is significantly up. Gosh darn it, I
Right.
cannot speak. So yeah, super saturated market. Thanks for listening, guys. You keep us going. Speaking of, I'm gonna wrap us up. If you've got any questions, start thinking of them. We're about to head into after owls.
After owls, the best
we're
part.
about to
Midnight
have
owls.
after owls. So for live stream listeners, stick around. But for those that are tuning in on the various podcast platforms, this is going to be the end of things for this week. But before you go, please hear me out. I would really appreciate it if especially all of you people from India. Well, I haven't seen any of you in the Discord channel. That ever you haven't been mentioning it. You know, come on over. We want to see you and talk to you guys. You're a very different audience that we don't know much about. So, you know, come on over to the Discord community. Anyone and everyone, really. And if you want to support this podcast, consider coming over to the Patreon, where you can become a patron, or as we call them here, an avid diver, for $5 a month. It helps us out a ton. It keeps the bills low. It keeps that's mostly what it does. It keeps the booze low. But it also motivates us. So, and it gives you wonderful benefits like full high quality versions of the podcast. As soon as I'm done editing it, I throw it onto Patreon, and you guys get it.
Episode 0.
Possible episode 0.
Possible my old YouTube channel videos. You never know.
I try to make
Yes.
I try to make the podcast worth it for those on Patreon. I make it's stereo. First off, it's high quality. It's not buffered down by Spotify and all that. The intro and outro songs just sound so darn good, and I think so. I chose them though, so maybe that's biased. But I also I do some fun stuff. Like I try to space out where it sounds like we all come from to match the live
Location.
recording.
Mhm.
Yeah. So like I sound slightly more to the left, and Destiny and Jay sound like they're relatively close to each other, and Adam sounds like he's way off in the distance. So
Where I belong.
Wait,
where you belong.
wait, oh, no.
You might hear him occasionally.
Yeah, his voice is super low. It's like, hey guys. Sorry, sorry,
Oh, it's
Adam.
good.
Just
It's
play.
good.
That's good. It's single tier. And of course, if you're listening to this podcast, consider watching the podcast. We got some cool recordings, and we're in VR, and it's lots of fun. Similarly, if you're watching us on YouTube and you're like, well, I do all this driving, and currently I just listen to bad music during it or something, or you've been listening to the same mixtape for like the past 3 months, well, mix things up. Try out our podcast. Maybe do that thing we were talking about of going back to the first episode and working your way up. It'll be interesting.
Yeah.
And with that, we'll wrap things up. See you all on the next podcast, and have a good one.
Bye-bye.
See
Thanks for
ya.
listening.